James works with elite players and will provide us, as always, some really interesting insights into his work and what he does. So, James, for those that maybe haven't met you before, just a bit of insight with your background, what you do and how you identify some of the elite footballers you've had the pleasure of working with.
Yes, this is working, yeah? Yeah.
We're on.
Yeah, so my name is James Galanis. As Adrian said, I grew up in Australia. I'm actually of Greek descent. My parents migrated from Greece to Australia. Grew up playing soccer in Australia. At 27, I moved to the US. Identified a need for high-level training. Started an academy, Universal Soccer Academy back then. That was in 1997. Universal Soccer Academy has gone on to become one of the best academies in the country. We focus solely on individual development, so it's not an actual club. It's like a soccer school where kids come from. Now they come from all over the world. We evaluate the players based on 5 pillars: technical skills, tactical awareness, physical power, mental toughness, and character. So every player that comes in, we give them a detailed evaluation, and based on our findings, we develop programs that improve the players. Been lucky enough to work with several high-level players, Olympians, World Cup champions, and so on. At the same time, I'm now also Director of Technical Operations for New Jersey Youth Soccer, which is the governing body for soccer in New Jersey. We have 127,000 players that we overlook, and I'm kind of in charge of the development of all of those players. So that's basically it in a nutshell, and I'm here to share as much insight as I can.
How early do you identify the young talent, and what is it that those younger players that do have that talent and potential have that maybe is a point of difference for them coming through?
When you identify potential, you mean? Yeah, so that's a difficult question. There's different types of potential, right? You can look at potential in terms of athleticism, and a lot of coaches, that's what they look at. But there's really potential in everyone. It's just a matter of getting it out of them, right? So if you look at on the men's side, a player like Busquets, who we know from Barcelona, if you looked at him athletically growing up, if he landed on a coach that didn't value the off the ball movement and the intelligence and just saw the game through the lens of athleticism, he probably would never have become who he becomes. So there's potential in everyone, and like I said, it's all in the pillars. You don't have to be super duper fast. As long as these days anyway, it's all about speed of thought and how smart you are without the ball and how technically sound you are.
For women's football specifically, how do you see the current, perhaps in the US, how do you see the current pathways and player development opportunities for young girls coming through?
Yeah, so in the States, it's just so big that so many players are playing that at the end you're always going to find 30, 40 high quality players that will make up your team. The women's national team, it's athletic based. There's no doubt they've got great athletes, and that's a lot of the reason for their previous success. And I think now that the rest of the world has got more women's football players playing, and they're implementing what the rest of the world knows, which is the tactical concepts and the technical concepts. The gap is closing, but in the US, it's just so many kids are playing that the system doesn't have to be great. It's just because they've got so many people, so many girls playing that you're going to get top ones at the top. Is the system great? No, I don't think it is. It's very fragmented, and that too has a long way to go. So there's a lot of work to be done in the US as well.
There was an interesting comment made
one of the first panels this morning with regards to the collegiate system compared to Europe, and we can speak from Australia as well. Grassroots, college, there does appear to be a pathway, but Europe, from my knowledge and my experience also in Australia as well, we have a lot of participation, but are the structures at a level to bring out the very best in young talent coming through? And if not, what do we need to do to bridge that gap?
Yeah, so in the US, there's a lot of youth football. There's a ton of youth football. Then there's the college level. The problem with the college level is, and what people don't really realise is, you play about 15 games a year. That's all college soccer is. It's not like a 30-game season or 40-game season where you're getting plenty of hours in and really getting a chance to develop. So a lot of players, they don't improve. They're playing, and you play 15 games, there's 40-man rosters. You don't get a lot of time, so after 4 years, you've probably played a total of, maybe if you're lucky, 30 or 40 games, because there's kids that are older than you that are getting in before you. So what needs to happen, in my opinion, there needs to be training centres. I think just all around the world, for the women's game to improve, there needs to be regional training centres all over the place that focus on individual development, not games. You play games, obviously, but the focus should be individual development, improving the technical skills, improving the off-the-ball movement, improving them physically, improving them mentally. So, you see throughout the world, there's teams, and there's always like 2-3 really solid players, and then there's a drop-off, right? And that's what's been going on as the game has been growing from a women's standpoint. It's been growing, but there's been 2-3 good players, then there's 4-5 good players. It's slowly growing, but those 2-3 good players, they definitely need more attention and more focus if we really want to make the game better for women. So for me, it's training centres.
When you get a young talent in your system, in your academy, what are the initial areas you focus on with them? We know how the environment, full of pressure, full of intensity, so young coming in. What are the initial steps you put in place to ensure that you're maximising their potential physically, but also, of course, mentally, emotionally, with everything that is ahead for them?
Yeah, so the most important thing, the foundation, is the technical skills. There has to be comfort on the ball. The key thing is, it's not about being magical, especially with how the game is today, because the game has become all simple and just quick ball movement, get it, knock it. The key word that people should be looking for is, am I creating players that are efficient with the ball? Not magicians, but efficient. And you just let the magic happen through the course of the game. So that's the first thing. And then obviously the off-the-ball movement is super duper important as well. And then the physical, you can wait a little bit later on, but also the mental part. The mental part is something that you should be working on from when the player walks through the door day one. Because at the end of the day, it's the mind that's the athlete. And a lot of people neglect it, and they just think that it's about the player and the ball, but really it's not. The most important part is the mentality. So when you get these players, you've got to assess all these areas, but you've got to understand too that each player thinks different, each player responds differently to different things, and you've got to find, how am I going to inspire this player? How am I going to make them become the best version of themselves? So it's not just what type of activities you're making up at training. What's going on upstairs? Is this person building belief and confidence and building a love for it, to believe in themselves enough to overcome whatever obstacles come their way? So, the comfort on the ball, super important. obviously the tactics and the physical, but the mental part is also, I think, a big part, and it's also the most neglected part of player development.
Very interesting. I know for a fact we have a very special guest, a good friend of mine, the current Australian women's national team coach who's just joined us, Mr. John Montemuro. I know he values this very highly across all aspects of the Australian national team setup, from all the way down to the younger girls coming through. And the goal, we've always spoken very openly about it, but the goal is to ensure that they're as ready as possible physically and mentally for when they eventually do break into that senior team. So you're right. Plans that do need to be implemented early in their development process to ensure they're maximising their potential when the time's required at the highest level.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Take me back to the pillars of your business again. You briefly mentioned them earlier, but just the foundation, the motivations, and where you hope to take this already very exciting project, of course.
Yeah, so like I said, we use we call it the 5 pillars of a champion. That's what's on the logo here. You know, I like to think that we're not coaches. You know, I like to think of myself as really a teacher. That's what's at the forefront of my mind when I'm out there. But also, we are really creators of environments. You know, you need to create an environment based on what you have. So if you now walk into this team, you need to assess that team, and you need to create an environment that is going to improve those players. Okay, and the problem that we're having around the world is everybody's into taking activities or drills. They see a drill over here, or they get online, oh, Barcelona's doing this, and oh, I'm going to take that drill. And then they go and try to apply it to their players, and their players aren't Barcelona, right? So, you know, you've got to assess what you have, and you've got to create an environment based on what you have. So that environment means everything. And at Universal Soccer Academy, that's what we do. We have an environment. We have a specific environment for when we're teaching the skills, when we're doing our tactics, when we're doing things physically, mentally. So it's all about an environment that the players walk into, and in that environment, they feel valued, they feel like there's a lot to learn, they're challenged when they walk into the environment, and when they walk out of the environment, they're just slightly better. So then when they come back again, now you've got to recreate another environment that once again is going to be challenging, and they're able to achieve what they need to achieve in that environment. And then you just keep creating a new environment for every time your players walk in. So when you're hijacking drills, you're not doing that. So I think that's one of the things that has made us different, that we're just creators of environments rather than just plugging away at finding activities or finding drills or finding things that are out there.
You've, of course, worked with some top-class players around the world, some incredible players in the women's game. From your learnings in this last period and what's ahead, what does excite you most about the women's game? Obviously, participation numbers rising, viewership numbers rising, but what excites you most on the pitch for the women's game now going forward?
Just the level of competition now. You know, the rest of the world has kind of hopped in, and I think everyone's realised that you know, there's a sleeping giant that's just been sitting there, and we can double the amount of people that can play the game, and more associations are hopping on and funding and supporting the female soccer players, and you know, the female game has so much to give in terms of, you know, to the young girls that are out there, but it's also different. It's a different game compared to the men. It is slower, but I feel like you can learn so much from watching high-end women's soccer, because the movements do happen a little bit slower, but if you were to watch tactically, it's much easier to analyse and teach somebody the off-the-ball movement watching a high-level women's game than a men's game where it's just happening at lightning pace. So I believe it's its own spectacle, and I love the fact that, you know, all the European countries are now all becoming more and more powerful. They have the knowledge, they have the techniques, they have the infrastructure. It's embedded in the culture. Now that everybody's hopping on, you know, just the competition for women's soccer is just going to continue to get better and better. So I know it's got obstacles, but I've been a part of it for 25 years. I was a part of it when, you know, for example, the US would play against, let's just say, Spain, and Spain was able to hang for, you know, the first 10, 20 minutes. 20 minutes into the game, the Spanish players would get tired, and the US would just overrun them because of the athleticism. And then you watch that go back. Then it became 30 minutes, and then 40 minutes, and then 60 minutes, and now we're at a stage where it goes into extra time, and it's still neck to neck. So
they're winning World Cups.
Yeah, they're winning World Cups and all that. You know, the Aussies the same, and I think just everybody. So it's definitely improving, and it's events like this that's going to make a difference too.
Exciting, fascinating insights as always. Just lastly, wrapping up, if you had a young girl here in the crowd who's watching on, dreaming of playing, what's your message of inspiration to them for what's possible in this game?
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing is you're looking. A lot of the young people today, and even parents, they're looking for something external to help their kid. Okay, but really the greatness is found internally. It's what you do when you're by yourself. That's the reality. So people come to me, oh, I'm looking for somebody to take my daughter to the next level, or they're looking for a club or whatever. But really, it's not about that. The academies like mine and the clubs, that's just a place where you go and perform. But really, greatness is found by you going in your backyard, going in your basement, going down the road, hitting the ball up against the wall, clocking in hours and making mistakes and getting things right when no one is watching. So, you know, don't look externally, look internally, look inside of yourself to find that greatness. You know, and it ends up being addicted to being better than what you were yesterday. That's really the best players that I've worked with. That's what it is. They're on a mission to be better than what they were yesterday. And, you know, that's what I tell kids. Don't come here looking for me to make you great. Let's make you great on your own and teach you how you're going to take yourself to the top. And people like me will just guide you. We'll just polish you up a little bit.
Beautiful. Very powerful. Any questions, comments, thoughts? Lunchtime. James, thank you.